So you should see a notification popping up just telling you that the host is recording the session. I want to record it for anybody that happens to come in late or anybody that misses the live session so they can see what we did in class, and I'm going to post it to the class page later on today, all right? So first thing we do is we're on our iLearn page, right? That's how you guys found the link to the Zoom session, so good job. We just want to make sure every day you're reading through the announcements. Whatever's the newest announcement should show up at the top. So I posted 2 things this morning. First, I kind of gave instructions on what we were going to do. And then at around 8:40, I put a second post that had the link to the Zoom session, also a link to this daily attendance sheet. So this is how we're going to track your attendance. I want you guys to try to do this every single day. So you're going to click on this link here. It's going to take you to a page that looks like this. Really simple. All you have to do is type in your last name, your first name, and then today's date. So the easiest way to do that is just to click this little box here, and it should default to whatever today's date is. So if today is the 7th, just click that. You don't have to think about it. Hit submit. That's how we're going to track your attendance, right? So once that's done, what usually you're going to do is find your work in Edmentum. So I kind of gave instructions down here on what we're going to do today. I said that we're working on lesson 1, Introduction to Ratios. So some people started it yesterday. If you already started it, that's fine. I'm still going to go over it because I saw some people look like they needed some help with it. We're going to click on there. And again, I'm recording this, so in case you get lost, you can always come back and view it again later on once I post it to the iLearn classroom, right? So you click on this here, it says open new link. It's going to take you to the course page. And your page is going to look a little bit different than mine, but once you're in there, you click on the math section, click on curriculum, and you should see all of the math curriculum, right? So once you're inside the math curriculum, it looks like this. Ideally, you already watched the student orientation yesterday. If you didn't get to watch those 3 videos, please try to watch them today. That's going to really help you in the course a little bit more, right? What we're doing today is we're starting off with this first lesson. That's Introduction to Ratios. So you can see here our first unit is covering a couple of different lessons. We've got Introduction to Ratios, rates, tables of ratios, a couple of different things, right? So the lesson is this part here that says tutorial. The mastery test, if you already started it, don't worry about it, but we're gonna focus on trying to complete that tomorrow. So don't worry about the mastery test yet until you finish with everything in the tutorial. So you click on the tutorial, and you should see something that looks like this, right? If you don't see anything that looks like this yet, just please let me know, write something in the chat. Alfie, were you able to find this page though? Because again, yours is gonna look different than mine because I'm a teacher. The student view should be a little bit similar though to get there. But
I'm confused now.
This page.
I'm confused because do we like do the assignments with you or we do it by ourselves?
So it's a mixture. So ideally what's gonna happen is I'm gonna start off with kind of doing it live, explaining the first couple of slides of the lesson. You see here, this is slides 1 of 22. So I would go through like the first 5 or 6 slides, and then you guys have a chance to practice. And we're gonna have class for about 45 minutes each day. So until 9:30, I'm gonna stay here. You guys can work and practice. And then after 9:30, typically you guys would then work for another about hour or so on the math, right? We're gonna give you a more detailed schedule, probably starting tomorrow, but that's typically how it's gonna be. So I'll start the lesson with you, right? If you wanna start it before class starts, you can, but just try really not to start those mastery tests until I go over the lesson. I wrote that on the post today because you really want to go into the mastery test knowing what to do. And the live lesson is a good chance for you guys to ask questions. I can try to help you out with things, just get better understanding, all right? So again, I'm gonna go through the first couple of slides here. You guys will have a chance to practice. I'll stick around so that you can work on it until about 9:30. And then after that, you guys would typically work on it some more, right? Today, the schedule is a little bit different. Make sure you check the ELA classroom because I think Miss George, your ELA teacher, set up a meeting for you guys a little bit after class ends, right? So again, we're on this page over here. We're looking at the first one, Introduction to Ratios tutorial. I'm gonna go over some stuff, just explain what ratios are. Hopefully you guys are a little familiar with that from 6th grade. And then you guys are gonna practice some work with ratios, right? Actually, before we start, can anybody just tell me what they think a ratio is? Mathematical definition, maybe an example of a ratio, anything at all. You can use the chat. You can also say it out loud.
What do you think a ratio is?
What if I just did the number 5? Is the number 5 a ratio? All right, so let me just get into that. Hopefully that'll answer some questions. So objective, right? Every one of these lessons is gonna have an objective. That's the goal. That's what you want to try to have done by the time you're done with this, and then once you get to the mastery test. So the objective for today states that in this lesson, you will study ratios and use them to describe relationships between quantities, right? So that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do for this lesson. So I'm going to start by just reading this first slide here, right? It says, Priscilla has a basket of apples, oranges, strawberries, and other fruit, right? So it's showing us a bowl here to give an example. It says she wants to use her grandmother's recipe to make a fruit salad. For dinner, the recipe tells Priscilla the amount of each variety of fruit needed to make the fruit salad. So anytime you're looking at a recipe, right? If it's for a fruit salad, if it's for pancakes, it's for pasta, right? You follow a recipe. It says, okay, so you need a cup of this, you need a tablespoon of this, you need maybe, 5 ounces of this. So you have specific measurements to make a recipe. And ratios come in handy when you want to change the recipe, right? So it says, as Priscilla is chopping apples, her brother reminds her that several of his friends are staying for dinner. So they decide to make twice as much fruit salad. Priscilla and Jack have to find the amount of fruit needed to make twice as much salad based on the amount given in the recipe. In this lesson, you'll see how the quantities of fruit and amount of fruit salad are related, all right? So I really don't know why they give you this example of fruit salad. Has anybody here ever made fruit salad? Right? I'm gonna say probably not, right? You probably have bought fruit salad.
I've made fried rice.
You make fried rice.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever made pancakes? Okay, so I figure pancakes
I think I did.
are more relatable. So what I did is I just actually took a picture of a box of pancakes that I had sitting in my cabinet, right? Just to give you an idea of how ratios are used, right? So for example, this recipe for a box of pancakes says
Box of pancakes. Yay.
of pancakes, this is what you need. 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of mix, 3/4 of a cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of oil, and 1 egg, right? You take all that stuff, you mix it together, that's gonna give you enough batter to make between 10 and 12 pancakes, right? Depends on how much stuff, how big your pancakes are. Now, let's say you don't wanna make 10 to 12 pancakes, right? Let's say you've got a couple of people there, you actually wanna make like double the recipe, right? You wanna make 20 to 24 pancakes. That's when ratios come into play, right? And the box here actually helps you do that. So if I scroll down here, we'd see it says alternate pancake servings. So over here it says, if I wanted to make, say, 20 to 24 pancakes, that's gonna basically just be twice the recipe from before. So the way that you do that is you just double the ratio. So instead of saying 1 cup of mix, it requires now 2 cups of mix. Instead of saying 3/4 of a cup of milk, if you were to double 3/4, and we'll get to that later, that does give you 1.5 cups. Instead of 1 egg, it's 2 eggs. Instead of 1 tablespoon of oil, it's 2 tablespoons of oil. So that's really how ratios work. You're doubling every single thing in that recipe. Now, can anybody tell me the one on the right-hand side? That's making 30 to 36. So from the original recipe, I'm not doubling it. What am I doing to get this recipe here?
You're tripling it.
Exactly, right? The recipe there was tripled. So that means that every single thing in that recipe got tripled. So we multiplied the number of cups of mix times 3, the same thing for the cups of milk, and so on, right? So when we talk about ratios, this here is kind of how you think about ratios, right? A lot of concepts in math tend to be abstract. You say, when am I ever going to use this, right? Ratios is actually something that you're going to end up using a lot in your life, right? It has to do with cooking, but other things besides cooking also involve ratios. This is kind of just like the simplest example, okay? So hopefully that helps to make a little bit more sense. And then even if you scroll to the bottom, it gives you some other larger recipes. So if you wanted to make, say, a pound of batter or a full box that's 5 pounds, these are the measurements that you would have to use according to the ratio, right? Because you need to scale it up, right? If you were trying to make, say, 3 times the recipe, and all you did was triple the amount of mix, but you kept the other stuff the same, right? You make 3 cups of mix, 3/4 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of oil, 1 egg. Do you think those pancakes are gonna taste good? If all I did was triple the mix and kept everything else the same, right? They're gonna be extremely dry. You probably can't even mix it, right? So that's why ratios are really important. It's about keeping the parts all in the same quantity when you scale it up is what we say, all right? So back to this here, right? Now we're not making pancakes, they're actually making fruit salad. So same idea. To make this particular fruit salad, we're not talking about milk, eggs, and oil. Instead, we're talking about different types of fruit. So in order to keep the recipe the same, you need to always make sure that when you scale it up, you're scaling up each part of the recipe by the same factor, all right? So let's read through this slide here. It says, Priscilla's grandmother recipe gives ratios of ingredients needed for the salad. A ratio is a way of writing a comparison between 2 quantities, right? That's all a ratio is. So for example, right, going back to the pancakes, I could say a ratio here is 1 cup of mix to 3/4 cups of milk to a tablespoon of oil and 1 egg. It's just kind of a comparison between different things. Now, a ratio is a way of writing a comparison between 2 quantities, so how much bigger one quantity is than the other, right? So numbers are involved. We're measuring different things. It says using ratios between quantities of fruit, Priscilla and Jack can double the amount of fruit salad. Watch the video on the next slide to see an example of how ratios are used in the recipes. All right, so I'm gonna play this video. It's pretty short. Just let me know if you're having trouble hearing it.
When dealing with numbers, oftentimes we deal with quantities which can relate to each other. These relationships are called ratios. For instance, when making a fruit salad, there will be different quantities of each fruit. Let's say our salad has apple slices and strawberry slices. A recipe might call for 2 apple slices and 5 strawberry slices. A colon is written between the 2 numbers to represent the ratio of cups of apples to cups of strawberries. It is a 2-to-5 ratio. These numbers correspond to the actual quantities of fruit for our fruit salad recipe. Just like with the ratio we wrote down, there are 2 apple slices and 5 strawberry slices. The numbers in a ratio in the right order is important. 2 to 5 is a very different ratio than 5 to 2. As you can see, this would be a different kind of salad with the 5 to 2 ratio of apples to strawberries. There'd be more slices of apple than strawberry. By using this ratio, any quantity of salad can be made. This way, you can make any size salad you want as long as it has the same ratio of ingredients. So long as there are 2 apple slices for every 5 strawberry slices, the salad will have the same consistency. Adding 2 more slices of apple and 5 more slices of strawberry gives you 4 slices of apple and 10 slices of strawberry.
Right, so that part there, they're just talking about doubling the ratio, right? So if the original called for 2 slices of apple and 5 slices of strawberry, if you want to double it, you need to double both quantities. So you double the amount of apples to 4 and double the amount of strawberries.
Both salads are considered to have the same recipe because they have the same ratio of fruit. They have the same ratio of fruit because the ratio of 2 to 5 is equal to 4 to 10. There's just more fruit.
So another thing that it brought up in that video there is that the order that you're talking about your things in matters when we talk about ratios, right? When they said if you had a ratio of 2 apples to 5 strawberries, that's not the same as saying 5 apples to 2 strawberries. So just the order has to make sense. Same thing if I went about this one here, right? If I said my ratio was 1 cup of mix to 3/4 cups of milk, that's not the same as saying 3/4 cups of mix to 1 cup of milk, right? They have to stay in the same order when you're working with these ratios. All right, so we're gonna be on slide 6 now. So the idea for this section here is that you're gonna work through, I'll read the instructions and just explain what you're gonna be doing here first, all right? So all these lessons are gonna just have some instructions trying to explain what you're doing throughout the lesson as well. So let's just read through that quickly. Content knowledge, so this is the math that we're learning. It says you're gonna study ratios and use them to describe relationship between quantities. Remember, that was also our objective for today. So mathematical practice, there are 8 math practice standards that have to do with anything that we learned in math. Specifically, it's saying here that you're gonna make sense of problems and solve them. You're gonna reason abstractly and quantitatively and use mathematics to model real world situations. So these are just kind of like good math practices that mathematicians use on a daily basis. These are the ones that you're gonna do, all right? So, and let's just get on to the instructions, okay? So it says, read the instructions for this self-checked activity, type in your response to each question and check your answers. At the end of the activity, write a brief evaluation of your work, all right? Alfie, good job if you did them all. Now, it says Priscilla's grandmother's fruit salad recipe, and it's now giving us the actual recipe, right? So these are some numbers that you're gonna need. Now, let me just show you here, there are some tools that you can use to help you as you guys are working. So this here is a highlighter. So it might be helpful just for you to highlight stuff as you're reading so that you can use it later on. So let's see what over here looks important, right? It says 1 part apple. Let's see. So this is her recipe, right? 1 part apple, 1 part orange, 4 parts strawberry, 2 parts cherry, 3 parts grape. All right, now what you might be thinking is, what is 1 part apple, right? What's 1 part orange? What does this even mean, right? But that's why we'll have to read the whole thing. It says Priscilla uses the same measuring cup to measure all of the fruit. So 1 part is equal to 1 cup of diced fruit, right? So that's what that means. When it says 1 part apple, that means you're taking up some apples, you're chopping them up until you have 1 cup of apples. Same thing for the oranges. You peel the orange, you chop it up, 1 cup of orange, strawberries, cherries, grapes, right? That's what 1 part means for each of those there. So it says, in this exercise, you will compare the quantities in the recipe to understand ratios better, right? So I'm gonna help you with the first part and then you're gonna try the rest yourself. So the first part here says, write a sentence comparing the quantity of apples with the quantity of grapes, right? So apples compared to grapes. Can somebody tell me how many parts of apples does the recipe call for?
1 part of apple.
Good, right? So if I want to write a sentence to compare this, I would just say the recipe calls, let's put a full sentence. I'd say the recipe, you type today, calls for 1 part apples. And then we usually say 2, how many grapes?
3 parts of grape.
3 parts grapes. That's it, right? And that sentence there is basically like a ratio, right? It's got a little bit more than we're used to seeing. Usually when we talk about ratios, and you guys are gonna see that a little bit later, you see just numbers. So an equivalent ratio for this here in just numbers would look something like maybe 1 part apple, we usually use a colon, to 3 parts grapes, right? But just make sure you follow the instructions because this one here doesn't want us to give you numbers, it wants a sentence. So this here would be a sentence for that first part. The recipe calls for 1 part apples to 3 part Great. Now you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to have to keep referring back to the top up here. So like I did here, make sure you highlight that section, right? You're going to work on part B, part C, part D, part E, part F, right? We've got class for another, we'll be on here till 9:30. So I'll give you guys, we'll say 8 minutes for this part. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're done, we can move on to the next part, right? But use the chat function. Also, feel free to unmute yourself and let me know if you have any specific questions as we're going, right? And then after 9:30, that's when you guys would continue to work on the rest of the activity on your own, right? But I'll give you guys about 10 minutes here. So at around 9:18, I'll check in and then we'll move on to the next part. But if you have any questions, you're already up to the next part and you have something you want to ask me, feel free to do that.
Are we doing this on paper or how are we doing this?
You are just typing your responses into here and then you would hit submit after each one.
Wait, what do we do when we finished it?
Then you're just gonna go and click the next arrow. You're gonna have some more slides to read and then other activities.
No, finish like everything.
So once you finish everything, you can hit save and exit. Just make sure you answered every single part and then you can go on to the match 3 test if you feel like you're ready for it.
Wait, I'm confused. How do I type in? Where am I typing?
Do you see something like this on your screen? What
No.
window are you looking at right now?
I'm just in the Google. I'm just in this here.
You're on the, give me a second,
Am I going to the home page?
over here on iLearn New York City.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so from this page here, on the left-hand side, you see something that says Edmentum Math. You might have to scroll.
Oh, okay.
You click on that, you're gonna see this link pop up, hit open link. And then from there, I think you might see the math and the ELA classes. Click on the math classroom.
I'm sorry, go back to that. When you go to end math.
Edmentum Math, you're gonna click on open link, right?
Open link, okay.
So if you see that message, just close it out and click it again. That is almost.
Oh,
So you should see something that looks like this loading up. And mine is gonna look different than yours because I'm a teacher, right? But I think that you should see your math classroom and you should see your ELA classroom. So you're gonna click on the math classroom, find where it says curriculum,
mm-hmm.
right? So mine is up here, it says curriculum, I click there, and that's gonna basically be all the math work that we're doing for the next couple of weeks.
Got it.
Already, you wanna watch the student orientation, right? And then what we're working on first is unit 1. So the lesson that we're working on today is this one here that says Introduction to Ratios. You're looking at the tutorial. So once you click on that, that's gonna take you to this thing here that we're working on. Right now, this is slide 6. You're gonna start at slide 1 and move forward.
Oh my God, this is so much.
I'm recording the meeting and I'm gonna post it to the classroom later. So that if you miss the first couple of minutes, you can just watch those first few minutes to see anything you might have missed.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Anybody that has any questions, if you're just coming in and you're not sure what we're working on, please let me know.
What do I type?
Also, anybody that wasn't here at the very beginning, don't forget to fill out the attendance sheet.
What do I type?
What was that?
What do I type?
Are you in, did you find this here, the Introduction to Ratios tutorial?
No.
All right, so what screen are you looking at right now?
The Edmonton.
Okay, so you're in Edmentum, or are you still on the I Learn New York City page?
Study.
Sorry, you got to speak up a little bit. You're hard to hear.
Should I?
So from the I Learn New York City page, on the left-hand side, you should see something that says Edmentum Math. You click on that, click this open link, and that should take you to the Edmentum Math page. Once you're there, it's going to look a little bit different for you. You want to find where it says curriculum, right? Or you should be able to eventually get to this page here that shows the work that we're doing so far. The lesson we're working on today is the one that says Introduction to Ratios tutorial. That's what we're working on first. Once you open up that, it's going to take you to a page that looks something like this here. You navigate it with these arrows at the top. So you're going to start on page 1 and gradually make it up. We got up to 6. And just please, guys, if you have any questions, you're totally lost, you don't know how to get here, or if you have questions about the math content, please let me know so I can help answer those questions for you. Right, Sissy's son, can you tell me where you are right now? What do you see?
I don't know like where to get to that page.
Okay, are you, go back, are you on this page here? Do you see an I Learn New York City on the top left?
Yes.
From this page here,
Okay, Noah, here.
think about the school building. So you come into
This
this,
is your. Wait, no lo hables.
I'm just gonna mute you. When you come into the school building, you have to go to your classes then. So you would click on this here. This takes you between math or ELA. Right now we're in math. And then to get to the actual math lessons on the left-hand side, you should see something that looks like this that says Edmentum. Do you see that? Sissy,
Yeah, I'm finding it.
just let me know if you can't find it.
Okay.
Once you find it, you click on it.
Oh, and mute. There you go.
It says open link in new web browser tab. So you click on that link, and that's what takes you over to the and again, yours is going to look different than mine, but eventually you should, after clicking on that, get to a
I
page.
don't know. There's a video. He's talking to somebody.
Errol,
Do you see that?
Noah.
Okay. Okay.
You sent us a link.
All right then.
All right, Noah, do you have a question?
No.
Say good morning. You just logged in, Noah.
Good morning.
So no, and anybody else that came in late, I'm recording this session now. So in case you missed the beginning half of it, I'm gonna post it to the iLearn classroom later on today, right? Maybe 10, 15 minutes after 30. I'll post it there so you can rewatch the beginning and see if you missed it. Right? Also, for this coming in, just please don't forget what we're gonna have every day is you guys are gonna take attendance. So from the course homepage, you should see an announcement every day with the link, but it's the same link every day, right? You're gonna see, sorry, this is taking a little bit to load. The link that shows you the Zoom session, which is also the same link every day. So you can click on that, you can bookmark it. If you ever can't find it for some reason, it's gonna be the same one you used the day before. And also this here is a Google form just to help track attendance. So you click on that link there, it's really simple. Just type in your last name, your first name, and then today's date. Easiest thing is just to click this little box to the right and the date's in blue. So just click that, hit submit. That way I can track your attendance. Right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we go over the next assignment, like tomorrow's assignment, with you tomorrow, or we do it on our own?
You're talking about the,
Yeah, that one.
okay, so that one, you're a little bit ahead. So the idea with each of these lessons is that we want you to take your time with them. You spend 2 days on it. So something yesterday, this one over here, but I know everybody didn't get a chance to, so I'm just giving people a little bit more time. So for today, you want to have the tutorial done, and then basically for tomorrow, during class, do a couple of key things. And then
No.
no, I'm just going to mute you. You got some background noise there. Now, we're here.
I have a question.
Yeah, 1 second. So basically 2 days for each of these. The first day is doing the tutorial. The second day I would do just a quick review, a summary, and then we'd go on to the mastery test, right? That's pretty much how it's gonna work. So that means that when we get to rates, that's not gonna be until Thursday now, when we do the first one. Tomorrow you guys will be working on this section, right? So it's the summer. If we don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed, right? I also don't want you guys to rush through the work, right? There's no need for you to try to rush through every single thing, right? That's also why I locked the second unit so that we can't just try to go too far ahead, right? I really want you guys to try and wait until I go over the work first, and then you can try to practice it, and you can try the mastery test the next day, right? The idea is come in, you guys work, take your time to really understand it without rushing, and you come here with questions, right? Also, if you happen to go ahead, just make sure you come with any questions that you have. Right now, who was it that had a question?
Yes, I can't see the page that you're looking at right now.
All right, again, your view might look a little bit different than mine. Were you able to
So
find,
how did you get to this page?
were you able to find like the lesson for today? Were you able to work through this one here, today's lesson?
I was able to log into Zoom.
Okay, so let's see over here, right? I'll walk you through it again from the beginning. So you're on the class homepage, right? Is this where you are right now, iLearn?
No, I
Let
don't
me find that page again, hold on.
No, Daddy's almost done. In 10 minutes.
know.
Okay, I'm on that page.
Okay, so from this page, think about this. This is like the school building you walked into. You found your math class. At the top of here, you should see all your classes. So you should see the math class. You should see the ELA class as well, right? You're in the math class. That's how you found the link to Zoom. So the next thing would be scrolling on the left-hand side. Somewhere you should see Edmentum Math. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you click on that. Click on it again. Now you're gonna see a page over here that has, it says open link and new browser, right? So Edmentum is a separate website inside of iLearn. So you click on open link here, and that's gonna take you to the math classroom. So I learned, that's where you're gonna see assignments. I'm gonna kind of post the links to Zoom, the link to take attendance. I'm gonna let you know what we're working on for today, what the goal is. But to do all that stuff, you need to click on Edmentum Math and go into the Edmentum page. That's when you're gonna start to see all of the work for the course. Right, and the goal for today is to try to finish up this tutorial, right? You'll have some time to finish it up tomorrow if you're not done yet. And tomorrow then we're gonna work on the mastery test.
I only see assignments. I only see the home and the assignments. I don't see the page you're showing right now.
Okay, what assignments do you see?
I see due in the future, SS 2002. And then my assignments is called portfolio report.
That's what I see too.
Did you see the Edmentum Math page? Or maybe did you click on, all right, do you know how to share your screen?
I know.
Okay, so let's try to walk you through it. I'll stop my share your screen, I'll try to help you get there.
Okay. Yeah, this is my page.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I think it's the second one where it says Core M. I'm assuming the top one is ELA and the bottom one is Math. So click on that one. Actually, hold on a second. I want to just take a screenshot. All right. Click on the bottom one that opened. Okay, yeah, so this is it. So
Okay.
left-hand side, the Plato student orientation, that's just those 3 videos that I wanted you to watch. After that, what you're doing first is introduction to ratios. So that's the first lesson. You click open.
Okay.
Okay, so now you,
This one.
it's good, right? First one you have is that tutorial on the left-hand side. After you finish that, that's when you go on to the mastery test.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Sharing that, Sissy, I think that helped. Again, sorry, this is also my first time using Edmentum. So I know my view is gonna look different than yours. I just didn't realize how different it was. All right, so thanks for sharing that. Again, the goal for today is to try to get as far as you can in this tutorial. All right, I'm gonna be on for another 5 minutes here. And then you wanna continue working on the rest of it at your own pace today. Yizu, you should submit them one at a time. So I'd say after you finish typing one, hit submit. That way, in case you have to stop for any reason, your work gets saved. I'm not sure if you wait until try to submit them all at the end, it might not save your work if like you happen to lose Wi-Fi, you get interrupted with something at home. So just kind of the best practice would be just to continually save as you go, right? There's also this button up at the top that says save and exit, right? So let's say you're working for 20 minutes and you want to stop to go get something to drink or to eat, use the bathroom, whatever. Just try to save your work so that you're not losing your progress. And just don't forget to do the self-evaluation at the end, right? I find that a lot of times students tend to ignore these, but this is really good for 2 reasons, right? Number one, just for yourself to self-reflect and just see how you think you did. So if you think you did really well, you'd say a 5. If you think you still need some work with it, maybe a 2, maybe a 3, right? But I can also read these so I can get a sense of how you feel about the work, right? If I see, okay, somebody is saying that they're at a 1, then I might say, okay, I might want to check in with this person just to see if I can help explain things a little bit different. Also, I'm just checking, and it looks like the ELA teacher is scheduling a Zoom session for you guys at 9:45 today. So if you haven't seen that yet, we're gonna finish here at 9:30. That means you guys have about 15 minutes. So continue working on this stuff here. And then whenever you finish, save and exit. And at 9:45, you're gonna head over to the ELA class, right? That's gonna be Miss George.
Okay.
So if you guys have any final questions, let me know. It's 9:29. You guys can start logging out of the Zoom session. I'll stick around in case you have any questions. Almost done.